If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I'm super happy to sew along with you the Mr. Heckles bag by Sincerely Jen. This was an amazing sew. Now, as there are so many tutorials on the Mr. Heckles bag already, I have done this one slightly different. I wanted to be able to offer a different way of constructing this bag. So this bag, as per the pattern, is a birth bag, but I wanted to make a tutorial that was slightly different than everybody else's. So in this tutorial, I show you how to do it as a drop-in lining. Now, do not be scared of the drop-in lining. This bag is so perfect for to working on those skills for a drop-in lining. It is a recess zipper, so it is super easy to do as a drop-in lining. But first, let me give you a little bit of a tour of this bag. So it has handbag handles. It has a crossbody strap. Now I chose to do my crossbody strap as a two-tone crossbody strap. You can do this in cottons, all vinyls, cottons and vinyls together, leathers, canvases. This bag is so versatile. I also went and I added purse feet in the bottom. That isn't in the pattern, but I do show you where my placement of them are. Besides that, and besides using a metal zipper end, everything else is as per pattern, except for I do a drop-in lining. On the back, we have a large cell phone pocket. Again, a recessed zipper. Inside, actually, I did do the inside a little bit different just because, as you know, it is my thing with my clients that my insides are always the same. So I did my traditional slip pockets with a decorative trim on one side and a zipper pocket with overlay on this side. Now, this zipper pocket with overlay is in the pattern. I just did my slip pocket my standard way. What else? Interfacing in this bag, it calls for Decovil Light. I used EBFuse Heavy, which is an equivalent that I buy at Emmeline Bags. It is a woven interfacing, so it sticks really good, but still gives the same structure as, say, a Decovil Light. So this is a very lightweight bag, but still very structured. I used a canvas from Sam Fabrics Creations. If I'd used a cotton lining, I would of course backed all of my cotton pieces with medium woven interfacing such as SF101 or EBFuse Light, which is also from Emmeline Bags. I use some Decovil Heavy in the bottom to give it a little extra stability. My hardware and zippers is a mixture from Blue Calla and Emmeline Bags. These D-rings here, or figure 8 rings, or whatever, the double D rings, are from Blue Calla, as are the zippers and zipper pulls. And I believe the rest of my hardware was from Emmeline Bags. This vinyl, oh my gosh, this is the brand new vinyl line from Galaxy Customs. This is the Patina De-Stress vinyl. This is done in the colorways Denim and, oops, Stormy. I don't know. I think this may be my new favorite vinyl of all time. But besides that, I did have scraps of Decovil Heavy just kind of in between all of my rivets just to give that a little extra stability. And that is it. She is a fast and satisfying sew. This bag has sold already. It's sold within 10 minutes of me putting it on my business page, and my client will be picking it up next week. And of course, we are doing this one for the Thursday, May 24 sew along classes. So again, if you want a longer version of making this bag in real time, you can always jump on over to the membership side and check out the replays of the making of this bag. Anyways, how about we get to making it?
You're going to need rivets, number 5 zipper tape, optional purse feet, optional strap ends, 2 swivel clasps, a slider, a zipper end, 4 rectangular rings, 2 D-rings, 2 zipper pulls, and your nameplate. You're going to need your 2 handle pieces, crossbody strap piece, 2 lining top pieces, your exterior back main piece, your exterior front main piece, your zipper pocket pieces, your 2 lining pieces, your 2 side connector pieces, your 2 D-ring connectors and 4 rectangular ring connector pieces, 2 exterior and 2 lining zipper panel pieces, 2 exterior back slip pocket pieces, your lining slip pocket pieces, your bottom exterior and lining pieces, your 2 exterior side pieces, your exterior back top piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my handles and my double-sided crossbody strap pieces off camera. If you need classes on how to do either of those, they're down below in the description. Now we're going to start doing our back panels first. What you want to do is find your top and bottom centers of both your back bottom and your back top pieces. Make sure you have them orientated correctly. They should go wider as they go to the top. Again, double check that you have them orientated properly. What we want to do is we want to take the top piece and put it right sides together with the bottom piece like so. Again, making sure it is the shorter end of the top piece and the wider end of the bottom piece that are going right sides together. Now we're going to measure in as per the pattern measurements and make a mark on the left and right side of this. And we are only going to be sewing here to that mark and from the mark to here with the seam allowance listed in the pattern. You will not sew past those lines in that middle section, as that is where we are going to be creating our exterior cell phone pocket. Now that's done. You can see it's open in the middle there. Now what we want to do is take one of our slip pocket lining pieces, find your centers again, make sure you have them orientated properly. Now you're going to kind of fold down this one seam allowance so you have your the wrong side of your exterior top piece facing you like so. And along the seam allowance that we did not fold under, so this would be the one that belongs to the back panel piece, you're going to line your zipper pocket right sides together like so, nice and centered. And then you're going to go ahead and you're just going to sew where that lining piece is with the seam allowance in the pattern. Making sure you are not catching that seam that we have just folded down and holding with clips just to hold it out of the way. That's done. This is what that looks like. Now what we want to do is flip this over like so. And you'll see now we have the back side of the bottom piece up and we're folding that seam allowance out of the way. So now we're working on the top back piece along that seam allowance that we have sewn there. Bring your zipper pocket right sides together with that. So our 2 lining slip pocket pieces should be sitting right sides together at this point. This is so hard to explain. I hope the video shows it. Go ahead and sew across there. There you go. And you can see I haven't caught that seam allowance, so we still can maneuver it like so. Now what we want to do is have the lining pieces kind of butterflied out like this, just like so. And then we are going to also top stitch this. Now I want to make sure that my seam is going to stay nice and tight. I like to use a little bit of double-sided tape to help press that seam. If you're using material that you can press with an iron, you can do that. And if your machine is sensitive to double-sided tape, just give it a really good finger press to make sure that that seam allowance stays open. I'm on an industrial, so I have no problems with double-sided tape. So once you have that seam pressed open good, your pocket pieces should be feathered out like so. And if you got the seam allowances right, when you go to top stitch this, you will not be top stitching through those lining pieces. You'll only be getting right along here and only catching the vinyl pieces. So make sure you're pulling your lining pieces nice and tight because you do not want those caught within this top stitch. You just want to be going through our exterior pieces and those seam allowances all the way across on both sides of the seam. There we go, that is done. You can see I didn't catch my lining pieces. It's perfect. Now you can bring your lining pieces right sides together like this so they are coming down towards the bottom. Trim them up nice and even. And then we're just going to go ahead and clip just the bottom of those lining pieces together and sew it across there with the seam allowance in the pattern. Do not worry about the sides. Those will get closed up when we go to put our connectors on. Okay, so now we're going to work on making our rectangle ring connectors. I am using my double D ring connectors for this. I've drawn a center line down these, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold the long edges into that center line like so. Next, from one short end, I am going to measure down as per the measurements in the pattern and draw a line on the wrong side. And then I'm going to take just a small piece of double-sided tape on that same short side. I'm going to take my rectangle ring, bring it down to that line, and fold this wrong sides together just like so. Next, I'm going to take some double-sided tape and put it right down the center, about an inch or so away from where it meets the rectangle rings. So I've done that for all four, and now you're going to measure from the center of this back piece as per the pattern measurements in the pattern, and you're going to draw a line measurement away from that bottom center, making sure it's nice and straight. I'm just using some chalk to do that. Next, you're going to take that connector that we had just done. You're going to line on one side to the left of that ring, or that line, and on the opposite side to that right of that line. Double check that the distance between your two connectors is the same as what's stated in the pattern, making sure it's nice and centered. Next, we're going to top stitch up each side and as close as we possibly can to our hardware. Now, changing into your left zipper foot here definitely helps you get nice and snug up against that rectangle ring, or in my case the double D rings, to get nice and close to your hardware there without having to sew over your hardware. This is what that looks like all done. I also went ahead and put in my rivets back to some Decovil Heavy pieces, and that is the back panel complete. Go ahead and do the exact same thing with the other two connectors and the front panel piece. So there we go. I have my rivets in, as well as I've placed my nameplate already. Now, this is for if you're doing a drop-in lining. From the top of both of these, you want to draw a 1-inch line with a pen that will not erase on the top, just down from the top. And this is not in the pattern. This is what we need to do for drop-in lining here later on. Okay, so now we're going to work on our D-ring connectors. So just like we did with our rectangle ring connectors, I've drawn a center line and I'm bringing the longer sides into that center line. And I'm going to go ahead and I've top stitched down those folded edges. Now from the bottom, you're going to measure up as per the pattern measurements on the bottom edges like so. I'm going to place a little bit of double-sided tape just above those lines that we drew on those connector pieces on the wrong side. Then you're going to take your D-ring, bring it on the other side, and you're going to bring the short top end down to that line that we just drew, securing with the tape. Okay, so now we have our side panels here. Now what you want to do, just like we did with the front and back panels, is draw that 1-inch line down from the tops. Again, this is for doing a drop-in lining method. Find your top and bottom centers of both your side panels. And then measure down nice and centered as per the pattern measurement in the pattern, and draw a line where you will be placing that D-ring. I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape along the bottom of that connector like so. And then I'm going to line that up right up with that line that we drew with the measurement in the pattern. Go ahead and base those in place there. Next, what we want to do is you want to measure down as per the pattern measurements and draw a line with some chalk across like so, making sure it is nice and centered. This is going to help us with that side band having a nice and straight placement. Now we're going to take our side bands, and very similar to how we did our connectors, once again you're going to fold those long edges into that center line, but we are not going to top stitch that just yet. You're going to put a little more double-sided tape down the wrong side of the center, and then you are going to line this up nice and centered just below that line that we drew across like so. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to top stitch here and here to secure that in place for both. I went ahead and I added in 2 rivets. I like the look of the 2 rivets, backed with some Decovil Heavy scraps to make that connector just a little more secure. You can go ahead and you can trim up those bands to be nice and even with our side panels like so. Okay, so now we're going to put the exterior together that fast. So you're going to take your front panel and one of your side panels and put them at right sides together, clip these in place. Okay, then you're going to sew down there with the seam allowance in the pattern. Side done. Now to make this thickness a little bit less thick for when we do a drop-in lining, about an 1.5 inch or so down, so just above where our side band meets in the seam allowance here, you're going to cut to just before our stitching, and you're going to feather that seam just at the top out, and you base that in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and down the rest of the seam allowance do a second line of stitching just to secure take a little bit of tension off of my threads as I see that I can see a little bit of laddering in there. So doing the second line will help with that. So here you see I've basted that seam open, and then below that slit I'm going ahead and doing another line of stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the other one into the seam allowance. Now that that's done, you're going to go ahead and you're going to push your seam towards the main panel and then top stitch through that main panel all the way to the bottom. Again, making sure your seam is going towards the main panel and it's only feathered out at that very, very top piece like we had done, and that is only for doing the drop-in lining like we are. So that is one side done. You're going to do the exact same thing with the other sides to create a tube and have our exterior all put together. Now, the very last top stitch is tricky because you are top stitching through a tube. So I just figured I'd put video of me doing that just so you could kind of see on one camera how my hand placement is, and from the other side, the needle view. It is so hard to show this, so hopefully this shows you what you need to see. It is a little awkward. Take it slow. You'll get this no problem. Right, so that is our tube complete. Now what we want to do to prepare for our drop-in lining is just along that top side there, you're going to put some double-sided tape along the top. You could also finger press this and just use clips to hold this in place if you do not want to use the double-sided tape. You could also use glue, but you'd have to let it dry. So I'm not going to fold down these top edges just yet. I just find it a lot easier to put the double-sided tape on while I have this wrong side out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now we're going to work on our bottom. So I found the long side centers as well as the short side centers. Now purse feet are not in the pattern. I just like purse feet on my bag, so I will show you the placement of the purse feet here in case you decide you want to do the same thing. A super easy element to add in. So I am measuring in 1.5 inches from the left and 1.5 inches up, and that is going to be the placement of 4 of my purse feet from the 4 corners, and then I'm going to place a 5th one right center of the panel like so. Go ahead and install those as per your manufacturer's instructions. If you need a class for that, I do have that down below in the description. Okay, so that is all done, and I like to put some duct tape over top of the prongs. Now we are going to do our bottoms. Now this is a really unique construction for the bottom. We are going to start with the side panels. So the short side of our bottom piece and our side panels, go ahead and put them nice and centered, wrong sides together, and so all the way across there with the seam allowance stated in the pattern, just for the side piece. That is done, what we want to do is we want to fold that seam allowance up towards the side panel like so. Again, I'm going to use some double-sided tape in there just to help press that seam. You can definitely go ahead and just finger press that as well. But you want that seam pointing up towards the side panel, and then we're going to top stitch along there with the side panel and do the exact same thing with the other short end of the bottom piece. So first you're going to see me top stitch, making sure that seam allowance is pointing up towards the side panel of the bag, and then you'll see me go ahead and do the exact same thing with the opposite short side. All right, so those are the sides done, and now we are going to do the long sides. Now this is such a unique way of doing this. You're going to pinch it like so all the way across of those long sides. They're going to go together perfectly. This is another reason why we have to be very aware of which direction we have top stitched those seam allowances in, because if you do it the wrong way, this would be a little bit harder to do. But right now, it is absolute perfection. Go ahead and clip across on one long side, and then sew all the way across, and then do the same with the opposite side. Once that bottom is done, it looks good. Go ahead and put this right side out. Now, if you are on a flatbed and you're going to be top stitching this from the inside of the bag, you could definitely leave this wrong side out for this so you don't have to turn it again later. But I'm going to be doing it on the cylinder arm, so I'm going to turn my right side out. Look how amazing those bottom corners look. I have never seen a bag go together like that for putting on a bottom, and it is so easy and looks so amazing. Look at that. Okay, so now to prepare for the drop-in lining, what we want to do, where we put, I'm just kind of adjusting my seam allowances, there we go. We want to take the paper of the tape off, and what we're going to do is along that top side, we are going to fold the entire top part of our bags down to that 1-inch line that we drew and secure with that tape, or with clips if you prefer not to use tape. So you're going to fold it down like so, right to that 1-inch line, nice and even all the way around. Now I am going to use clips as well. I find using tape and clips just makes it so it secures everything in place really well for me. So go ahead and fold that all the way around to that 1-inch line, and then that is the exterior ready for drop-in lining once we get the lining done. I've already gone ahead and I've done my zipper pocket and my slip pockets. If you need a class on how I do my lining pockets, that's down below in the description. We do not need to leave the zipper pocket open as we are doing this as a drop-in lining. Okay, so now we're going to work on our zipper panel. So I'm going to take my zipper tape. I do not have my pull on the wrong side of on the right hand side. I'm drawing a 1-inch line with a pen that will not erase. On the opposite side, we are going to fold each of the ends, so we have it right side up now at a 90-degree angle, secure with a pin. You can also hand baste these if you wanted to. Make sure both sides are nice and even, and take it to the machine and baste on either side. That is done. I'm going to trim the tails off like so and pull my zipper teeth apart. Now I have my zipper panel pieces. I'm going to measure in as per the pattern measurements in the pattern from each short end, and then I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape to fold those short ends into that line. You will want to do this for all short edges for all 4 zipper panel pieces. Okay, so now we're going to take one of the lining pieces, and from the left hand side we're going to make mark 3/8 of an inch in. And then on the other lining piece, you're going to do the same on the opposite side, 3/8 of an inch in. I'm going to use double-sided tape. Feel free to use clips here if you prefer. Along the sides we made the marks, we're going to go ahead and put some double-sided tape along the right side of our lining and exterior pieces. So with our lining piece right side up and our zipper tape also right side up, we're going to have our zipper tape with the end that curves to the left, and we're going to put that little curvy part of the zipper right at that 3/8 line we just drew and stick it or clip it in place like so. So both the lining and the zipper are right side up there. Next, we're going to take our exterior piece and put it right sides together, sandwiching that zipper tape and making sure that our zipper panels for the lining and exterior line up. So across there, do the same with the opposite side, but the zipper will be going to the right where the curvy piece is. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch into my right zipper foot here. This helps get a nice and even seam allowance to get nice and close to the zipper tape teeth and making sure that we have a nice and straight zipper. This is a good time to check your bobbin. I was close to playing bobbin chicken here, so glad that I checked. I have a nice fresh bobbin and I'm ready to go. What we want to do is we want to press our panels wrong sides together, our lining and exterior. You can definitely finger press that, or you can take it to the iron if you have material you can iron. Once again, I'm using my double-sided tape as my pressing agent. If your machine can handle it, it definitely helps get that seam nice and tight. So I'm pushing my lining seam away from my zipper teeth as snug as I can, flipping it over, doing the same with the exterior part, bringing it wrong sides together with the lining, making it nice and snug away from those zipper teeth. Take where the raw edge is, and I'm just going to clip those in place so they do not move while we are sewing this together, making sure they are nice and even with one another. And then what we're going to do is we're going to baste along the bottom raw edge and top stitch the other 3 edges. And you're going to do the same with the other zipper panel as well. So that is done, and you can see mine are nice and even. Now I'm going to fold these in half like so along those zipper panels to find these centers and put small snips on the raw edge. And then I'm going to line up the raw edges of both the panels just to make sure they are still nice and centered to one another, which they are. Okay, so I've got my lining top pieces here. Again, you make sure you have them situated properly. And just like we did with the exterior pieces, this is for the drop-in lining. We want to draw a 1-inch line down from the tops. Now make sure that you do have it situated properly, as this isn't a rectangular piece. It is slightly longer along one side. So again, along the top of the second one, a 1-inch line, and that is going to help us with our drop-in lining here momentarily once we finish this all up. Find your top and bottom centers of both of the lining top pieces. Okay, now I'm going to take my lining piece that has my zipper panel, because I like that on the back. I have my lining piece right side up and my zipper panel with the curvy side going to the left, also right side up. I'm going to line those up nice and centered to one another, lining up that center mark and clip in place. Next, I'm going to take my lining top panel. I'm going to make sure I have it situated properly, so where that 1-inch line is, that is closer to the top. Put these right sides together and add it into the clips nice and centered. You can see I use a ton of clips, and that's just to make sure everything is going to stay in place at the sewing machine. Now making sure your tail's out of the way, we're going to go ahead, sew through there with the seam allowance in the pattern. Then we're going to press that seam allowance down towards the lining panel and top stitch through the lining panel. You'll do the exact same thing with the opposite side, but of course our zipper panel will have the curvy side going to the right on the other half. You can go ahead and change back into your standard foot here. And here we go, that is done. When you put these right sides together, you can see that the zippers line up good, but now we want to finish up this lining. So I've put these right sides together and I am lining where our seams meet for the top lining panel and the bottom lining panel, making sure we have a nice and continuous line across there. Make sure you're tucking your tails in where they will not get caught in our stitching here, and then clip just the sides together for now. Okay, so once we have that all clipped together, you're going to measure up from the bottom and down from the top as per the pattern. And the top and bottom parts, you're going to have your regular seam allowance in the pattern, but between those marks, you're going to branch out to a larger seam allowance just to make it a little bit more snug. Once you have that both done there, you can also see I went ahead and did my trick at the top to open up those seams, and then the bottom part of those seams up until where we butterflied those seams out, you can go ahead and trim up. Next, what we want to do is we want to put on our bottom exactly like we did with the exterior, except for you were using the larger seam allowance to do that. Once you have that bottom on, go ahead and put some tape along the top of our lining panel, just like we did with our exterior, except for we are keeping our lining panel wrong side out. Now again, if you're going to be doing your top stitching from inside the bag, you could have this part right side out and your exterior wrong side out, just so you only have to turn it the wrong time. The one time, but I'm on my cylinder arm, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold the top edge of my lining down to that 1-inch line all the way around, just like we did with the exterior. Now we get to drop in that lining. So I have my exterior right side out and my lining wrong side out. I've got it situated so my zipper is closing to the left the correct way. Everything is proportioned or put in the way it needs to be. I'm matching up the front and back main panel and lining centers. You can kind of see where the center is from our little snips in the seam allowances from before. Line up those finished folded down edges nice and even. You want them to be as even as they can because we're going to top stitch these in place. So match up your front and back centers first, and then the same with your side centers. Look to where your little center marks are on the sides. Match up your sides. Again, I like to first secure my quarter sections, so I'm doing my second side here, and then it's really easy to distribute the fabric evenly in between the quarter sections. So if you've got your seam allowances right, these should fit together like perfection. So use a ton of clips to hold this in place because there's no turning of this. We're not going to be turning it out. We are going to be top stitching everything in place, holding the lining and the exterior together. So again, do not be afraid of clips. Push your zipper panel down inside. Now again, if I was on my flatbed, I would have done this so my exterior was on the inside and my lining was on the outside, and top stitched through the exterior along the inside. But I am on a cylinder arm, so I'm going to do it from the exterior this way, and it's the exact same way you would do it on your free arm as well. So go ahead and top stitch this all the way around. Stitching is done. She looks good. Make sure it was caught all the way around, and it was. Now all we have to do is put on our zipper end, so our zipper pull. So I've matched up that 1-inch line, put my zipper pull on nice and straight. I'm going to put my zipper end on and my handles. That's that all complete, and that's it. That's how fast a drop-in lining is. It feels like you get to skip so many steps. There's no hard turning at all. You can put your crossbody strap on, double check everything looks good. We have no turning holes to close up. I just love drop-in linings. Pat yourself on the back, and we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. See, drop-in lining, super easy to be a birth bag as well. I just thought it would be fun to show you a modification you could do to save your arms if you're like me and you have carpal tunnel, where a drop-in lining just saves your arms so very much. Anyways, if at any time you did find this video helpful, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the Mr. Heckles bag. Post your Mr. Heckles bags over on the Facebook side of the channel. That group is linked down below. And again, check out the membership side in case there's something that interests you. You can also support the channel further by buying me a coffee. All of that is linked down below as well. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys again. Bye.